Playing Paladins is a lot like eating a rainbow cake. Yeah, you're enjoying the variety of the gameplay and having fun with the mechanics, and then halfway through eating the cake, you realize it's covered in fucking vomit. You can't enjoy the cake anymore, because you realize the vomit. Your friends realize the vomit, and anyone who looks at you is going to realize the vomit covering your mouth. Paladins at times can be fun despite the obvious issues like hitboxes. But there is so much furry and weeb shit in the game, it's hard for me to enjoy without feeling like a fucking degenerate that goes to My Little Pony cons. It's not even a small part of the game. No, those motherfuckers at Evil Mojo put that shit as the first thing you see. They know what they're doing, considering how Tiberius is one of the newest champions and he's just Tony the Tiger. But fantasy? I guess. And I have even mentioned how I feel like I've been added to an FBI watch list for looking at Io for more than 4 seconds. This ambush of furries and sexual content by Evil Mojo is brought out because it appeals to the small but vocal minority of the Paladins fanbase. These developers are slaves to the weeaboos playing their games, and while it's good for maintaining the player base that has already dedicated their lives to maining a Mave, it's hurtful to outsiders trying to play it for the first time. Imagine if the first thing you saw on TF2 was one of those custom sprays from a fucking community server. Yeah, you would assume that everyone that plays TF2 was some sort of no-life that lives in their mother's basement. That may not be so inaccurate considering how much the average player spends on TF2 cosmetics, but most TF2 players are pretty cool people IRL. The same goes for Paladins players. I assume most of them aren't ranting about their pedophilic urges on Twitter. But the vocal minority plays a huge role in how an audience outside of the community perceives a game. You'd assume from the vocal minority that most Smash players are competitive, but most of them are casual players trying to have fun in the downtime. And you'd assume that most Overwatch players were the whiniest group of toxic bitches. And you'd probably be right to assume that, to be honest. My point is that most people aren't going to be enthusiastic about the sex appeal of the game. It makes the average person uncomfortable and will keep them from enjoying the game when there's no subtlety. I have nothing against people who enjoy it, but it's a problem for the game's growth. Games like For Honor die in this type of inclusiveness. For Honor is a dead game because it caters to the higher tier players and leaves everyone else to struggle. It doesn't matter if it's a genuine complaint, the higher tier players will just tell you to practice for 2 hours to parry lights. Games like Fortnite grow because of the exclusivity? Man, I don't know how to pronounce it, but you get the point. They grow because they allow newer players to join, and there's no real barrier. Anyone can pick it up and play, and have a good time. I was hoping that Paladins would be more like the latter example, but it's sad to say that it probably will end up being forgotten. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is just the problem with Paladins.